What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into Neil Young's studio albums. Today I'm going to talk about, that I'm going to review, I'm going to rank it among the other studio albums. Neil Young's 18th, This Note's for You. Neil Young and the Bluenotes, because this is his big R&B, blues, big horn section type album. This is the type of music that, like, we have a band just like this in San Antonio. Big horn section. There's like 3 guys that I think are there every time. There's a 4th that is usually there. Sometimes there's a 5th. Sometimes there's a 6th. Just like sometimes it's a bigger horn section. Sometimes it's just the regulars. But they play this kind of music. They play traditional R&B, really good 60s stuff. A lot more of a Latin flavor because we're here in San Antonio. But it's this really good, feel-good live music. They're not really trying to do anything other than just show everybody a good time. You got some bluesy notes in there, some jazzy notes. But that's what it is. It's good time music. And really, apart from one song on here, I think that's kind of all Neil's going for. He's playing into cliches. We got some angry, like, I'm a married man, leave me alone, you cheating woman type thing. We got some cheesy 10 men working, huh, huh. Only they're not working out in the construction yard or on the road. They're like working musicians. So it's a fun album. But I think it's the only one in the 80s that doesn't make any sense. The 80s were a weird time for Neil, up, down, all over the map. This is the one that to me is like, you really are just kind of throwing darts at a dartboard and like, oh, I'm going to do this now. First 3 albums of the 80s, the Ben trilogy. You can completely explain the music on those, the shortness of those, the culling of previous tracks by his experience raising his son, working with synthesizers, being completely overwhelmed as a father. It explains those three albums. He upsets the studio, though. So then you get Everybody's Rockin', which is his middle finger to the studio. Then he's sick of the studios. He's sick of rock and roll, so you get Old Ways. Then he's Neil. He discovers this big sound on the radio that he likes, big drums. So you get Landing on Water, and then you get, hey, I'm doing these new songs live. Let's just release this as an album. We get Life. All of that makes sense. But then after Life, we get this random detour into R&Bs and blues, which it's not a genre I normally listen to. With this and Everybody's Rockin' Rockabilly, I just don't ever listen to those albums. I think this is a better album than Everybody's Rockin'. I think there's more to offer it if you are a traditional R&B blues fan, if this is your genre, if you like big horn sections. I think you might enjoy this album. I don't think it's a bad album. I don't think it's Neil's best songwriting. I don't think there's a lot of that particular Neil style in here other than maybe the title track, which is very Neil-esque. I just don't think for me, it's not in any way grabbing me. You get 10 songs. What is the horn section on here? It's a 6-piece horn section. They're pretty good. The band's pretty good. There's some really good bass playing in some of these songs. Opens up with 10 Men Working, which is your just typical bar. I can see this being played in a bar and everybody's going crazy. There's a nice section so towards the end where it's kind of like we get a chance for solos. I don't think Neil's bringing anything particularly special with his blues soloing. It would have been fascinating for Neil to go in this to like a hurricane mode with this music on this album. Doesn't happen on this album. He plays pretty clean, pretty bluesy, pretty like, just honed in and focused, not a lot of fuzz. And 10 Men Working is kind of a fun song. It's got this, ooh, ah, that kind of grunting thing in the back. But it reminds me of like the opening to a Pixar movie. You see like a bunch of men or women and they're all like getting ready and they're maybe like sweating a little bit and putting on their clothes and rolling up their sleeves and they're singing this 10 Men Working song, and then they go into this building and you're not sure what it is, but then they all pick up brass instruments and they're like, ba-dun-dun. You're like, oh yeah, they're working. And there are a lot of obvious lyrical notes that tell you that's what they're doing, but that's the way the first song feels. Second song, and it's long. It's like 6.5 minutes. I feel like it's too long. The jamming thing doesn't really feel jammed out. Okay, it's a strong opening, but it could be a little tighter. This Note's for You at 2 minutes almost feels too long. He's not singing for Pepsi. He's not singing for Bud. We get a Spuds MacKenzie reference. But I'm going to argue that if you're going out of your way to saying, I'm not singing for Pepsi, I'm not singing for Bud, the people are going to think about Pepsi and Bud are probably, you actually are singing for them along the whole, like, there's no such thing as bad publicity type thing, or any, all news is good news, or whatever that is. However, at the end, he goes, what is the line? I've got the real thing. So then he does start pimping for Coca-Cola at the end. So what's that about, Neil? You knew that was a Coca-Cola slogan, right? Okay. Does get props for like upsetting MTV with his video and then winning with the video that he upset MTV with, right? I think that's the story. Yeah, it was banned and then he won as the best concept video in 1989. Oh no, he was nominated but lost to Weird Al Yankovic's Fat. Oh, that's hilarious. Coup de Ville, Coupe de Ville, Coup de Ville. Let's throw a coup de Ville. Low key, light jazzy chords on the guitar, bluesy. Got that wailing sax off in the distance. Very late night, lonely night type vibe. It's an If I Can't Have You type song. Could have worked on the Beach. I think the song, if it had been like just Neil and a guitar and that more like sparser, darker guitar energy he brought to On the Beach, I think Coupe de Ville could have worked on the Beach. Life in the City, big production, big horns, guitar licks. It's kind of aggressive. We're bemoaning what life in the city is like. Social commentary. He always manages to work in like that personal angle of like you got these big global or maybe national problems, but then you always got that working man or that working woman that works into a song. So you get that little angle. I think the lyrics, there's something here that could work. I just don't think it works in this song with this sort of subgenre of music. Twilight reminds me of Dire Straits' Your Latest Trick off Brothers in Arms, but I don't think the melodic hook that the saxophone plays in the Dire Straits song, I think, is a much more effective hook than here. But it's got that vibe, kind of goes on a little too long. As it goes on, this big, just random, really loud snare drum comes in every so often that kind of just is a little jarring. Not sure it's really needed. It's all about celebrating a loved one who's coming home, or I'm coming home to visit my loved one is it. An okay song. It just doesn't really go anywhere. Sets a really strong vibe and a really strong late night blues club, nightclub type mood. But I just don't think by the end of the song, you're like, okay, that was interesting. Married Man, I just don't like. Big horns. I'm a married man. Respect my happy home. Just an upbeat R&B song, some spurts of guitar in there. It just doesn't do anything for me. Sunny Inside is a banger. Sunny Inside is fantastic. There's a main horn motif that sounds like 2 or 3 other classic 60s songs. The lyrics, what is the opening lyric about? I don't need no, reminds me of Huey Lewis's Power of Love. Like, I think Neil heard Huey Lewis's Power of Love or was very aware of that song, and that somehow seeped in to the writing of this song. Because every time I hear this, like, I don't dig out my Huey Lewis every so often, but I'm like, man, kind of want to hear Power of Love right now. But Sunny Inside, that's a good song. Really short. It's like, well, less than 2.5. It's 2.5 minutes. Upbeat, tight, fantastic horns in this. Absolutely stellar. Can't Believe You're Lying is your low-key, slow-burning, smoking, nightclub, lounge type, that kind of song. 3 minutes. Can't Believe You're Lying. Obviously, there's trouble in Romance City. Is that a place? Hey, hey. Really nice, dirty slide guitar. Very reminiscent of like the slide guitar Dylan would use a lot in like the 90s and 2000s. Just that. He has a particular song Dylan has. That's really slide heavy and has this really funky groove. It's one of his more like modern times or one of those albums. But it reminds me of that song. And this is what, 88? And with the back, there's that kind of that like really kind of dirty, nasty sax or trumpet with that like sounds like a muted trumpet, just getting that wah 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 sound. Really cool. Good energy. It feels like a song that would close out like a nightclub act. Like, hey man, we got one more song. And if it's not going to be a cool down song, this is the energy you bring. This hey hey energy. And then the one thing, Last Call, we're heading for a heartache, super chill vibe. Kind of goes on. Another 6-minute song that the vibe is good, the atmosphere is good, but we just kind of sit in it too long without anything really happening, or at least that's my experience. It is not a bad album. I just don't think For me, I don't like this subgenre of music. I just don't have anything in my collection. I have like a fabulous Thunderbirds album I bought in the 80s that I still have, but I don't listen to it that much. Without like the melodic hooks of Sunny Inside, or even a little bit of sort of that saxophone hook of Coupe de Ville, or even a little bit of the like, I can feel a little bit of 70s Neil. That would be Coupe de Ville. There's saxophone in Twilight. There's a couple songs where like I feel there's potential, but I just think Neil limited himself to kind of staying true to this sort of R&B vibe. And it's just not my thing. And I just don't think it's that good of an album. So, where would I rank these songs? If I had to rank the songs, I would rank the songs right like that. I have Sunny Inside and Coupe de Ville at the top. I think that those are by far the best songs on here as far as I'm concerned. Twilight, 10 Men Working, Hey Hey, Can't Believe You're Lying. Those are probably the other ones that I'd say are kind of good. One Thing, not a bad way to end the album. Life in the City, This Note's for You, and Married Man. The more aggressive, upbeat, high energy stuff. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the songs themselves, Neil's voice, just the subgenre, which I'm not a fan of. Just, yeah, that's how I would rank them. And really, if I was going to put together like a set list, actually, I have put together many a playlist, and the only song that I've ever put on a playlist from this album is Sunny Inside. I do think it's the one song. It's that horn arrangement. It sounds like, is that Sam and Dave song? It might be that Sam and Dave song, whatever that Sam and, the really popular Sam and Dave song. Why can I not think it might be that, might be another Sam and Dave song. There's something it reminds me of, but it's by far the best song on here. If I had to rank them, that is still what the top 10 looks like. This did not make the top 10. That might change on the next album. We'll see. But this is where I put it. I have it down at the bottom at 23, not the very bottom, but it's above Everybody's Rockin'. But it's below Old Ways, just because I'm sometimes in the mood to hear those country songs, though I don't think they're the best country songs. I'm usually never in the mood to hear this. It's the genre, it's not the album. But I'm the one ranking them, so I have to be honest. I have it at 23. It's down there at the bottom. Though look, 11 and 12, man, and 15, those are 80s albums. Representing the 80s not so poorly. All right, that's all I got for this album. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this. If you're a big fan of this type of music and there's like an album out there historically that you're like, this will change your mind, you can recommend it if you want, and I promise you I will check it out. Other than that, I'm happy to be moving past it because it's the one I've been dreading the most in the 80s. And then we're on to one more 80s album before we get on to the 90s. I'm excited. All right, that's all I got. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things. Thanks for watching. And peace. Talk to you later.